What's going on, guys? YungD0nut here. Really quickly before the episode starts, I just figured I would let you guys know that Edwin Budding's book, The Book of Melee, is now available, that you can purchase, you can preview, support this man however you can. The book is awesome, the guy is fantastic, and I'm sure you guys will see that within this interview. It was a ton of fun, and yeah, check it out and enjoy the interview. Peace, guys. My friends, my neighbors, my amigos, my followers, my subs, my people, welcome and hello. Hope you are having a wacky Wednesday, since it is not Monday, the usual day that we do these. But you know what? Wednesday is the new Monday. You just flip the W upside down. I swear to God it works. Try it out. Tell your bosses, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your people, tell your subs, tell my followers. God, I'm running out of breath. But I hope you guys are having a great day today. And joining me today is actually someone a bit more interesting than I'd say some of the players that we get on this show. Mainly because this guy is a damn novelist, a journalist, a reporter, a podcaster, an overall man of wait, why are we still on this scene? There we go. Look at him. The guy's a legend. My man, Edwin Budding. Edwin, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well, YungD0nut. Thanks for having me on, man.
Very, very glad and gracious to have you on. It's been a time coming. We've been talking in DMs about setting some up for, it's gotta be the better half of almost like 3-4 months, probably something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I think the way this ended up working out is that I reached out to you actually like a few months later, just after it didn't initially work out. And I think I was like, hey, I didn't forget about, just so you know, I didn't forget about this. I wanted to get back.
He's all about it. He was ready. He was aiming for the top, and we finally made it happen. I'm super excited, and I don't know, man. It's super weird to, not super weird, but like it's something cool to get to talk to somebody who. And I had this same feeling when I interviewed like Slime and Ludwig. It's very interesting to talk to people that also used to run their own podcast, their own show, and are kind of also doing their part to be community content creators. I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's so fun to get to sit down with those type of people as well and just fucking rant for like a good hour or so.
I think the difference in personality and approaches that content creators take to making content or contributing whatever they can to the Melee scene as a whole is really interesting. It's like I think there's sort of a common thing that a lot of content creators have, and maybe you agree or maybe you disagree, but like I think that it's funny because we're all almost like, we all share love for Melee. Yep. And we all, like, secretly on the inside, we all wish we were the sickest player in the world. Like, we all, like, see someone at a major top 8, because we've all played the game. We know what it's like to be a player. And we see a major top 8, and, like, there's always that little thing in us that no matter how old we are, or, like, where we are in our lives, or, like, even our place in the community, we always think, like, oh, that could be me.
I could have been the best. I could have done it.
Yeah, that's like Melee allows me to potentially do that if I really put endless hours into it,
Right.
So we all kind of share that. So maybe maybe Edwin Budding knows, or Edwin Budding, Ludwig, Slime, maybe YungD0nut. Maybe we won't make a major top 8 together, and like maybe, but like. And maybe we wouldn't trade what we do, like what we contribute to the scene for it. But like, there's definitely that inkling in all of us, like, and every Melee player, for that instance, like wishing that you could be the one doing the 4 stock on this player to a wild top 8.
I think Scar will forever have that type of like champions belt that he can just wear, because he was like a top 8 player way back. Like he can forever say like, I did what I needed to do. You guys can want to be.
He got 6 at Genesis. That's his legacy. His legacy is much more than that. But
no conversation about Scar can ever go without mentioning the 6th of the Genesis, can it? I actually, And we're going to touch a lot more on the book later on. For those that don't know, my man Edwin here is also an author. We'll be talking about his book. We'll be talking about melee analysis, sports analysis, journalism, all that good shit. But there is one thing that I did want to ask you now while we're on this topic. Is Scar getting 6th at Genesis somewhere in the book? Can you spoil that?
You know, the funny thing is I go back and forth on this all the time. So I believe I might have mentioned it offhandedly in a footnote that Scar got 6th at Genesis.
I would actually love to see that footnote. It's just the number and listen, Scar, I'm sorry, but we all know. All right.
I forget though, because in some of the old Smash history posts I used to do, I believe I directly referenced him getting 5th and called it getting 5th. But internally, at least in my mind, I always go back and forth. So we'll never really know.
We really can't, right? We're not the Crimson Blur. We don't get to make these calls, but you know who does?
I mean, does Blur even get to make it? It's really
Probably?
Sheridan. Wouldn't it be Sheridan? Because Sheridan for the...
That's true. Yeah,
Sheridan can retroactively give him 5th or 6th.
I don't know who has access to the Smash boards, man. Who has access to that bracket and can just go in and make the call? I forever think Crimson Blur has the fucking key to anything melee related. He can just fucking work his way into it. It's Blur, if you're watching, come on the podcast and defend yourself, because I don't know what the hell your back end work is.
Blur's too. I'm always wary of giving Blur credit on things, because then Blur will know where he gets credit.
It's just another thing to boost the self-ego.
The Crimson Ego.
The Crimson Ego. Put that in the bio. Oh my god. But you know what? I think we've done a lot of talking here, and there might be people watching this, listening to this, anything that you possibly can to this that might not have ever even heard of you, Edwin. So if you don't mind, quick introduction for the people, who you are, where you're from, you know, a good who is Edwin Budding.
Sure. So, hi guys, I'm Edwin Budding. I've been in the Melee community for about 6 years now, both playing, watching. I started writing about Melee a little, I want to say, actually like 3 years ago. I just wrote random articles about Melee on my personal blog after doing sports journalism for a little bit in college, or at least doing like entertainment and sports writing. I reached out to, or since then, like I worked with a couple of friends on different Melee projects. So like Pikachu942, shout out to him. He and I did the Smash History series, which was the year in review. So we would go back to like 2007 and rank the top 10 players and everything. We kind of did that series together for a little bit. Then we both had the top 100 Melee players of all time list. I did, and then what I ended up doing is I ended up doing the top tier histories. So I did the history of different characters. Then I had the Cinderella runs of all times list, where I recounted runs like Wobbles getting second at Evo, things like that. Currently, I actually write about Melee every week. I do it for the Melee Stats website. So every Monday morning / afternoon, I publish a weekly column called Monday Morning Marth, which is a throwback to Monday Morning Quarterback series.
For all you sports fans out there.
Yeah, so basically I just do a weekly recap on Melee news, like a recap meets op-ed kind of thing. So I've been doing that for a little over a year now. Last year I did the Melee Stats podcast, which is like a podcast wrapping up Melee news. I think that just about does it. I write about Melee. I write Melee history, has always been a really big fascination of mine. I started working on a book about Melee history, which I think the easy way to, it's a lot more than this, but the easy way to explain to someone is that it's basically the manga to the Smash Brothers anime.
I like that. I think that, especially with those anime openings that people have been making, that's a really good way to look at it.
I think at least it's the expanded, or you know what? No, I think the better way I would put it is that it's like the expanded universe. If the TV show of just like the original series.
I can see it. The way we'll branch off with the early series, moving onward and seeing what else we can progress into. I could see it. I really like it. You're also, or at least you used to be, somewhat of a competitor. You would play the game. What got you introduced to Melee? What started this? What sparked this fire?
I mean, my story's pretty standard. I just in college I found a bunch of people that played Melee in my dorm room. I got better than all of them and thought I was really good. Then I watched Apex 2013 and I thought to myself, oh my god, these guys are so amazing. Like, how do I play like this?
Mm-hmm.
It can't be that far off of me, right? I searched Melee, like Melee players or whatever online. I found Smashboards, Reddit, and Facebook. I found out about Connecticut. I went to UConn, the University of Connecticut. I found about UConn Melee. I played with a couple people there. Realized I was really bad, but then I started playing Melee more with them instead of like the people I used to play Melee with.
Right.
And everything just kind of spiraled from there. Before I knew it, I was organizing tournaments at UConn. I was like running club meetings, competing, playing in the Melee games, which is that intercollegiate bracket, crew battle bracket.
Shout out to Matt.Zub, right?
Yeah,
sure
he
set
was
that up.
critical. That was actually such a big part about why, like, one of the reasons Melee was so awesome in 2014 and 2015 was because of TMG. I actually really missed that. That element, or that like grassroots Boston College versus Connecticut College, like those regional collegiate rivalries are so sick. They're such an underratedly big part of Melee, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But that got me really into Melee also. Once I graduated college, I didn't really have much time to be locally active anymore, but I still continue going. I still go to nationals and bigger regional events every now and then, compete there, write about it. Yeah, I think that just about does it for me.
Taking back to the Melee games, who would you say was UConn's biggest rival when it came to the tournaments?
The funny thing is, I think the crew that we wanted to play the most, we never actually got to play them in bracket.
No, what?
I think Prime UConn versus Prime Yale would have been really, really exciting.
Ooh.
We both had great crew battles. Like we didn't like hate each other or anything.
Sure.
We were all Connecticut, but I think Prime Yale versus Prime UConn is the crew battle that should have been.
Do you remember the players from that time, or is that a bit too far? No, you got it?
Yeah, of course. I remember all of them. Like,
oh man,
back of my hand. So Prime UConn. This is before I got this. This is back when I still was bad. So Prime UConn was like Barbie, Doom, Xavier, aka Fury. He went through so many changes. S2B, and then like Crunchmaster, K-Ood, and then I think me, but Gildo.
Apparently that's a questionable pick.
No, I ended as the number 3 in UConn, but like, the best UConn crew was back when I sucked.
Okay.
And Gildo was probably ahead of me, even though I secretly still think I should have been on the crew.
I relate.
And then Yale was Ambi Sinister, Real. Shout out to Ambi Sinister, by the way, fellow Melee stats guy. But Ambi Sinister, Real, aka Bentong. There was Teamwork. There was Robin, and then there was Jefferson Free, who is really good. And then there was I think those 5 were the main ones. Oh yeah, and then there was also Lindong. Lindong was really good.
Not to be confused with Lint God.
Yeah, not to be confused with Lint God. But it was just funny because Lindong also played Falco.
Of course.
He had a bunch of other characters too. There was also Red Rover, who's a Peach player. She was pretty good. She still plays in SoCal. Yeah, all those people, I remember them off the top. Still remember them. Would never forget.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I definitely can recall a single crew battle, and I don't know if YungD0nut is still in the chat or if he's around. Is
this a UConn crew battle?
No, this is a personal crew battle. Unfortunately, I was all the way out in Buffalo area for college, so I don't know enough about UConn Smash. Definitely would love to learn more, but a specific Fredonia crew battle for my college, we went up, I think, against like Buffalo State or UB, and we were debating like who would be in our crew or like who should go up, like who's the top 5. And my buddy and I'll I'll just say we did like a best of 5 or maybe a best of 3 to see like which one of us should go in, and your boy lost that.
No,
You know, that's
happens.
totally fine. Like, sure,
Okay.
I fucking lost, but I will let it be known that I would have taken stocks because his ass, I'm pretty sure didn't.
No.
But I'm not gonna say nothing because
It
that's
happens, man. Crew battles are so like the thing is that it's such an unusual format because it's different playing melee in tournament versus playing when you're like your friends are on the line and where everyone is screaming. It's just entirely different. Like it's not.
Yep.
Like I know what crew battle chokes feel like, man. UConn. We've had our fair share of heartbreakers. Some that I have actually choked in. Other ones that our best players choked in. I'm not going to name names or bring up specific examples of getting 12 stocked by Ganondorf or anything, but
damn, if that ain't specific.
No, I won't go into too much detail other than that. But we were a really good crew. We were, and we I definitely. I miss TMG a lot, and I wish there are certain things like there are also crew battles I did great in. There are other ones I didn't do well in that I still think about to this day. So I still remember what it was like to really care about playing a lot. Like
for sure.
It's not like I'm foreign to competing or that I haven't played like this is what's so funny. Whenever I meet people in person, like if I tell them who I am or like if they recognize it, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you played." It's like, oh, of course I played. Like what? You think I just like talk about a scene that I don't know how to play the damn game? Like,
I'd actually love to meet someone that's like that. Someone that has never played the game but has enough like statistical information or at least like enough data within them to be like, I do know all of this. Like I do know this stuff. I just never played it. I'm like, how?
I mean, even guys like even like he plays. He's not active in locals, but he'll go to regionals or nationals. But like Practical Task is not like active. Like he doesn't really he doesn't play that often. He just knows a lot about like.
Or so we think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some Smurfs on Anther's Ladder. Is all I'm gonna say, man. There's Smurfs.
There's also VDX, who was another UConn guy that he played, but he wasn't like a super serious competitor. But he knew a ton about frame data, and he like studied the game. He was very active on like different in different streams. He would just contribute to the community in his own way. Like it's not like he didn't know the game.
Right. Totally fair. I'm one that forever believes that like crew battles are the most stress-inducing out of anything melee related.
Absolutely. I think it's important to remember that they're like it's a really hype format, and it's amazing. It's like the highs and lows are so sick, but like there's also the inherent understanding that it's not like a great competitive indicator, so many random things could happen in a crew battle. Like if 1 3-stock happens, like no matter the talent disparity between two crews, like that can just completely switch the dynamic.
Oh yeah. It's wild, and then you throw an ices in there, and now we're talking.
Yeah, it's like you never know it. One of my friends almost got or no, I think he actually did. One of my wait, was he or did he not? So after I graduated UConn, I believe the story goes that he might have gotten a laser in, but he basically got JV5'd by an Ice Climbers player in Cruise.
Oh, you hate to see it. But
or at least he got 4-stocked in like a minute or something. It was brutal.
Oh. Poor guy. I'll take an F in the chat for that. That's unfortunate for that man. But you know what? He went out swinging. That man did not just unplug his controller like a certain person that got put in a highlight reel someday. Nonetheless, Edwin, I'm a very curious man. And when somebody joins the Smash community and they make their tag their name, talk to me. Talk to me about this. Because from what I've seen, that's not your name?
No, so
let's talk about this.
I can't believe I have to explain this. Okay. No, it's just I'm gonna sound really stupid.
Don't worry, I do every day.
So Edwin Budding is the name of the guy that invented the lawnmower.
Yep.
And this is just a random fact I've known for more than a decade now, and it's just been my tag in everything. So like my Xbox Live gamer tag was Edwin Budding. My 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 name on like GameFAQs forum was Edwin. GameFAQs forums was Edwin Budding. It just
You were just a big fan of the guy that invented the lawnmower.
it was a random fact I knew, and it's not even like I researched him or anything. I don't even remember how I found out. I think it was just I happened to know that Edwin Beard Budding invented the lawnmower.
I'm so glad you just added that, because I was gonna say, he's got a great fucking beard.
Yeah, Beard was his middle. I actually ended up changing my Xbox Live tag from Edwin Budding to Edwin the Beard. So it was just this probably makes no sense to people, but it's just
perfect.
Like it's the thing. Like all my friends know who Edwin Budding is. They know what he invented. They just if you know me or like have talked to me in any close proximity, like
right.
This is just something that you'll never forget and that you'll pick up forever.
I wanna let you know a little insider secret, and this goes for anyone that's a bakery fan. Anytime that I do an episode and I have a guest on, which I think has happened every single episode, I don't think I've ever done one by myself yet. Every single time, my dad will ask me who I'm interviewing. My dad's always really interested. He loves to see what I'm up to. So whenever I tell him, like, oh, this is who I'm interviewing, this is him, blah, 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 this is what he does. When he asked me who I'm interviewing this time, I told him, oh, this guy's tag, it's Edwin Budding. He's like, oh, I don't know who this guy is. And he goes online, goes to Google, searches Edwin Budding. First thing he sees is like this colonial times photo of this old bearded guy. I'm just like, that's not him. That's not who I'm interviewing tonight. I promise. That's not him. And then he clicked on the like search bar again, and he was like, oh, look, it says Melee. And I'm like, yeah, you should probably click that instead of just really Google. Funny. I can only imagine some of the names if he had just put in a Google search and just searched up. My God, it'd be some... Shoutouts to Long Island if I ever interviewed Doc Lobster. Shoutouts to Doc. Just my dad going to Google search and searching up a Dr. Lobster.
I mean, it's a good thing that I have like some kind of appropriate name or like a name that like it may sound like silly, but at least it's not like Sasuke Fan 69 or something like that. Like,
yep, the forever documentary shout out Dark Evil Prince 955. All about that. All about that. That's so funny though. I just wanted to clear that up because I was 98% sure that was not your real name, or else like I would have been losing my mind, especially based off of your personal blog. I saw like another name and I was like, he didn't buy this website off of another guy and not delete it. So that's definitely really good. Get the air cleared. He is not a Mike Hayes. He is not a what other smasher? Ryan Ford. Ryan Ford. Love that, by the way. I'm trying to remember what the meme was for that. It's like, Ryan, don't call me Ryan Ford, the Ryan Ford, or something like that. It's some big, long meme. Nonetheless, I want to talk a little bit more to you about your pre-melee. Well, when I'm saying pre-melee, I'm talking pre-analytical melee. So we're going back to college time of journalism, about researching and documenting. What got you into being someone that was so into analytics and documenting? Because you, before Melee, were a sports analytics type guy. Your blog was very full of things going on, news related to sports specifically. I want to say was it basketball or what? I was really into the NBA, and I still am a huge NFL fan. So what got you? What was that? Were you growing up into sports, very into basketball?
So growing up, I was really into watching the NFL and NBA. Mm-hmm. Some of my favorite, or almost all of my favorite writers are sports writers. I had other interests too, like I was really into music, and I was really into like movies, TV, and I like basically just huge on pop culture. But a ton of my favorite writers were sports writers, and to date, my favorite website ever is grantland.com. My dream job was to work for them. That was a Bill Simmons website when he used to when he used to work for ESPN.
Okay.
There's a website called Grantland, which is just all about like long form sports content, like analysis, entertainment analysis, and everything. So my dream job for a long time was to work for a company like or at least an outlet like Grantland.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to college, I wanted to get a journalism degree, knowing like I wanted to go into sports writing. Now, funny thing about me being really into sports, I was not good at sports at all in high school. Like I did tennis. I did tennis for this, but I was unathletic. You know, I didn't super care about getting into shape or like being good at any sport, because I always knew if I watched, there was like a wealth of information that could at least make me understand it on a viewer perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had never had a competitive outlet that I could be super good at, or that I felt like I could reach my potential in, you know? Because it always felt limited, like, oh well, I'm not athletic, so why would I care about being good at basketball or being good at football? Like that was my way of seeing it. And in college, I wanted to do journalism, so I worked at like the student newspaper and everything. I wrote sports opinion pieces, but most of my coverage and like editing work was more on entertainment and like student cultural centers and everything.
Did you ever do like actual student sports events, writing like pieces for them?
No, I think I went to one for a college baseball game,
Mm-hmm.
but I just didn't like it. It wasn't really my thing. I always liked analyzing sports and being able to talk about what I wanted to talk about and not just reporting. Not that there's not value in it. Like there's absolutely value. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't feel like I could express myself really well.
Do you think it's something that because I feel like I get what you're talking about. Do you think it's something along the lines of like consistency, and how like, yes, college sports can be consistent, but like you look at pro teams and you look at these guys that are in like the NBA, the NFL, and these guys are they run the same plays, they have the same guys running these same things over and over, or at least they're practicing them over and over, that they can be more consistent than a college team? Or what do you think is it that made this less?
Maybe I'm not sure. I think something about professional sports always stood out to be more than collegiate sports, because I never played sports. I never got the idea of like following things that weren't the very best, right? Yep. Like in Melee, that has of course changed, because I actually know what it's like to like have competed in Melee before. So sure. I'm very invested in different local events. Like I'll tune into I can't do it tonight, but like I'll tune into Xanadu's and stuff. I'll watch Verdugo Wests from SoCal. I'll watch like local events, because like I sort of like, it's close enough to me that I can still kind of be invested in it. Whereas like as a viewer of sports when I was younger, I wouldn't watch any. I wouldn't think to myself, like, why would I watch something that was less than professional quality? Like, I don't play basketball and I don't play football, so why would I watch collegiate football players and collegiate basketball players before they reach the pros?
Right. I definitely feel like I can get that understanding, especially, I think even just getting into Melee, like way back when, I could give a shit about like random username 420 and Lil Timmy 99 playing in like a best of 3. I could give a shit how they're playing. I'm studying what Mango's doing. I'm trying to understand why Leffen did a back air there. Like I don't care about that. But then the more you kind of, I think maturity helps a lot too. You know, you grow up and you start to, because I guarantee what you're saying, you're also like saying you related to the feeling of, oh, I wasn't good enough, but I can still look at what these guys are doing and find notice in it, you know?
Yeah, or like find or just have empathy for them, you know? Like yeah, maybe if you asked me 5 years ago whether I'd want to watch like Hungry Box versus Mango or something over I'm trying to think of an example, like Calvar versus Tiramisu or something, I'd be like, yeah, I don't care about like Calvar and Tiramisu aren't winning super majors or whatever, because like I wouldn't have understood like what the local grind is like. Like I'm not as good as Calvar or Tiramisu, but you know, having competed for long enough and knowing people in the scene and like knowing what their struggles are and reaching or trying to like make an impact on their local scene, like it's easy for me to be connected because I somewhat know the craft. I don't just know the spectacle or the presentation element of it.
Unpopular opinion, mid-level Melee is actually hype. Mid-level
Yeah, I
melee
think
is actually hype because when they don't make as many mistakes as some mid-level matches can get, it's like, oh, dude, I would have done that too, or oh, I see why you did that. Like, you see it so much quicker. You watch high-level melee, you're like, wait, he dashes there? Like, there's just
yeah,
the
I mean
littlest shit.
it's really tough to understand the decisions that they make at the top level, because the thing is the decisions that they make, and like I wouldn't say this for all top players, and of course this is a broad statement, but like it's so tough to follow because like there are reasons for making certain decisions, and specific like positions are so like near automatic that if you asked them why they did something, they'd be like, oh, I don't know, like this, it was
Yep.
just obvious.
Their
Where like
autopiloting is here while ours is still like we haven't
yeah,
left
like
the
the
ground yet.
autopilot's right here, like where they just take for granted things that they forgot that they learned.
Yep.
Whereas like our deliberate play is right here.
Yeah,
You know?
that's us still consciously thinking. Like, it's actually insane to see that type of play. I don't know. I'll forever. I've definitely grown more for mid-level play and appreciating it, and I think that's what I'm hearing out of you as well. And it takes time. It definitely takes time because you got to see yourself grow. And that's actually something that I could see as well. Not something I could see. It's something that I want to transition to as to what do you think qualifies someone as a good analyst versus a bad one? What are qualities you would see in someone that's good at picking things apart versus someone that is just not quite there, someone that isn't?
I think the first thing, maybe even before analysis, would just be empathy. Like you should be sincere and be open about the not just the subject and like where you're strong at versus what your weaknesses are, but also just being clear about your intent. If you're really clear about your intent and specific, like even if someone may disagree with your conclusion, that they have a transparent view into your thought process, so they can say, all right, well, you know, maybe this guy thinks this player is X and I think this player is Y, but he listed down A, B, and C, so I see why he would come to that conclusion. Or even if I'm talking about, like, forget a player or their rank or whatever, like if I'm speaking about something in the game, like for instance, if all the people that like read my work or like speak to me know I hate the character sheet. Like, I think like I have respect for all good melee players, but I just loathe Sheik, you know, like I just can't beat her really good players in tournaments. So like I'll talk a lot about like why I think Sheik is really good, for instance. But like I'd like to think that I might be transparent about my bias as a Marth player.
Right.
But at least I have like I'm able to list out specific reasons why I feel a certain way. So I think transparency, like eloquence, is kind of a result of transparency and I think honesty. So above everything else, like I don't think I'm always right when I try to communicate for myself, but I always try to give transparent reasons. And even if the reasoning's not solid, like, you know, that's something that I learn and grow from by being honest, by being open to my audience.
For sure. I think it's really cool that you bring up transparency, because I think going back, I'm a big video game donkey fan. If you know him,
yeah, of course I know.
I would hope there's some people in the world, man. You'd be shocked. They don't know him. They don't like him. Whatever it may be.
My friends love Donkey, so I watch the videos every now and then.
Hell yeah! So you might know what I'm gonna talk about. He did a whole video about game critics. And one big point he makes towards the end is understanding who the critic is versus what he is critiquing. If you know this guy has, let's say, a film critic, this guy has a bias towards horror movies, where he is a big horror movie fan, but he's not so much a comedy fan. He's probably going to praise a horror movie a lot more, either in depth, either positively or more harshly, than he might or might not, he or she might do to, let's say, a comedy, where they might say, oh, this is just like every other one that I've seen, or oh, these jokes are just as stale as the last one. So understanding what your author or what your critic or what your analyst is even trying to touch on and what they already feel, I think is like a good preface for any reporting or any data collecting that a person can do.
Yeah, very true. And I just want to like get something out of the way. I did a lot of research for the Smash History series, of course, and I still like I'm part of the Melee stats team and everything, but I would say for like actual research and analysis and ranking that I'm probably like I don't think I'm anywhere near the top of the Melee community as far as like deep knowledge of the scene and each local goes. Like I think I'm a pretty good communicator about it, and I definitely think I'm near the top percent of people in the scene that follow everything and follow results. But I don't think I'm anywhere near as qualified to say some of the other Melee stats people, like the Cedars, you know, like these are people that have the regional PRs memorized. They do the seemingly impossible. In fact, I'm fairly certain that they're doing it tonight, or if they haven't done it already, like if they're seeding the National Melee Arcadian, which is like 20 people could win that event, you know?
It's actually insane to think that that's something that people are doing. These are not like robots looking at this shit and going, nope, here. No, these are people saying, this is that person, this is his ranking, this is how he's played. Oh, but there's nothing online. I've heard, I've seen, I've read.
Because the thing is, like, to these people, and why I think this is so important, even if you don't like their conclusions, I think that in general, I'm a big believer that if you follow the scene and like you treat Melee like a lifestyle, like you listen, you read Melee articles, you listen to Melee podcasts, you watch not just super majors, but you watch the regional, you watch a fight pit,
you watch a fucking local, exactly.
Like the thing is, like, when people talk, like I don't watch that, like I still watch Game of Thrones or like really big pop culture stuff, but on a Saturday night, I'll turn on. Well, it's not around anymore, but I turn on a Nebulous. I want to see Hacks versus Rishi grand finals or something. You know? Yeah, I know. It's
Nebs, man. That's a heartbreaker.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is merit in people in the scene genuinely treating not just playing Melee, but consuming Melee and like contributing to Melee as a lifestyle. And I think that's something I really think about all the time. You know, that Melee does. Like, if you count any community member, Melee could have as many as like tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people that just watch like super major top eights and like GR Smash videos, but they don't really follow anything else. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like, there is a huge portion of people in the scene that they might follow Melee at a courtesy grants, but it's their like fifth or sixth favorite hobby.
It's not a lifestyle to them, and I totally agree with what you're saying, because I don't know. You can also be a judge of this. I don't know if this sounds fucked up or not, but there are tiers in this shit. This is a fucking hierarchy of a video game lifestyle. You cannot fucking say you are a Smash player and dedicate your time to watching GR videos, playing for maybe less than an hour a day, not attending your locals, not attending any tournament.
Ow.
No, I mean, well, no, you have a pass. You did this already. You've done this. I'm saying anyone that, you know, net plays for maybe less than an hour a day or whatever, just watches highlight reels, doesn't ever watch a video, not a VOD, not a match. But they would consider yourself. No, you're not. You can be associated, but not a player. Go ahead.
I will say I've definitely thought that before, and like I really empathize with that kind of. I have been really frustrated about certain things about like the Smash community being represented in a certain way. But I think at the end of the day, we can consider what we think is like an embodiment of a Smasher versus what is not a Smasher or whatever. But like ultimately, to an outsider, like the sad reality that, and I guess this is a different topic, but like when people see what they see, like it doesn't matter like what is true or what's not, they'll just like associate something with it, right? Like people this is like a funny but sad example, but like my friends, my hometown friends who don't even watch Melee like asked me about the HBox crab throw. And it's like, oh my god, how do you know about this? Melee is like the ninth biggest thing you follow, and like you're asking me about the crab throw. Why don't you ask me about like my top 100 Melee sets project or something like that? So like I always think to myself, like, and I guess this goes back into my my philosophy when it comes to making this work, or like to doing any work or like writing, is I really want to find a way that not just like long form content can get to the forefront of the scene, but like stuff that's made and celebrated by people that do have Melee as their first or second favorite hobby. I can tell you, Melee, like whether it's playing, honestly, playing is still probably my first hobby. I just don't have time to.
Yep.
I have to like schedule my playing as far as like going to regionals and nationals and everything. But,
100.
like, I would say Melee is probably my number one like non-work hobby.
Yep.
It remains like that. Like I play net play. I'll practice at home for a national. I'll watch a local in the evening. You know, there's the whole Melee Stats like fan server or like the podcast server where we'll talk about results. Like they're like this is stuff that like people who are like sports fans, like the way I see it is like Melee and Smash as a whole, like we have a lot of outreach. I just think that like we gotta, there's a way as far as like Melee, I think with things like, and maybe I'm deluding myself, but I think with things like long form content, like quality Smash writing, quality like documentary making, like even podcasting, like I do think there's a way of treating Melee as it's not just like a random niche, you know, like it really is. It's as similar of an interest as playing like pickup basketball at the YMCA might be.
100%.
You know, like that's how I really. It's as big of a. It's closer to like fans of A Song of Ice and Fire getting together and talking about Azorahai, you know, or Azorahai, you know, like or some random like it's like any fandom, right? It's just a time commitment at the end of the day, and I guess that like at least what I try to tell myself is that things I do for the scene and like the things that my friends do and Melee Stats do for the scene are showing that like Melee is a really cool thing to have as your first or second favorite time commitment.
Definitely.
You know?
I will forever be someone that no matter what game I play or whatever thing I'm doing with my life, whether it's my job, whether it's a hobby, whether it's just anything at all going on in my life, Melee is something that I feel like once you've dedicated enough time to it, no matter what that is, watching, playing, creating, literally anything at all, organizing, fuck it, it doesn't matter. If you are involved in a scene to a long enough degree and a long enough time period, you will fucking treasure it. You will treasure it. Melee has a spot in my damn heart, and I don't even think my heart's on this side of my body. I think it's over here. No, it is on this side. Okay. See, I'm not very good at the body parts thing.
That's okay. You got the Melee somewhere.
The message is there. It's in my heart somewhere. I know damn well it's in yours, and I know damn well it's in a shit ton of people that do put this commitment in. And I'm not even trying to rant this to be like that guy that calls out people that are like, no, I consider myself a smasher. I'm not trying to say that. What I am trying to say is it's not your damn lifestyle. It is not your lifestyle. If you're not putting in the same hours as these other guys, don't call it a lifestyle, call it your hobby. Call it what it is, and when you want to make it your lifestyle, make it your lifestyle. Put those hours in, you know. I'm not someone that would take it as disrespect if you did, but someone probably will. And nothing bad will happen to you, but yeah, that type of shit probably exists out there. I don't know. People are weird like that. I think,
sorry, if I can,
you're good.
Like, this is a good segue, but I just figured it's useful for the topic that we'd eventually get to. One of my goals in writing the book of Melee is obviously like there's tremendous importance in documenting the scene and creating a cohesive nonfiction narrative around the book. One of the things I thought about, and I have to credit my friend Alex Lee for talking to me about this, is that in 20 years, it's like you're saying, when we're all like, maybe you're living long term with a partner, you have like kids or something, like to have a physical copy of a book as a relic to the time of your like late adolescence or early adulthood, when you were part of something or actively part of something that was so sick. I want that book to be there. I want that book to be in like every Smasher's bedroom or kitchen table of something that they show to their kids, and like this is the niche. This is like the movement I was part of.
100%.
It's really cool.
I think that's super wholesome. I could 100% see that. That's a big reason why I mimicked something like that, but not Somewhere like that. Also similar to seeing it on Mango first, getting Smash tattoos. I literally have Falcon on one leg and then Falco on the other leg. Like, I don't care
That's
how
cool.
old I get. I want to always have the memories of this is what I enjoyed when I was younger. Even though, like, I always think it's funny referring to being like in my 20s as being young, because I know, like, in my eyes it's not that young anymore, but if I go over to my dad and I'm like, yeah, I consider myself to be getting old, he'd just laugh at me and probably walk away. So it's one of those.
It's all perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I totally see what you mean though. Like, you never want to, like, even if you do grow up and like I don't think in 10 years, even assuming the Melee player base gets really old and people only start going to like 3 or 4 events per year, I just think it's not even like that I think the game is dead or that there's less interest. It's just that the nature of being in the scene and being an active member of the scene will change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, maybe that's a bit of an optimistic spin on it, but at least it's the perspective I have. Like, I don't consider myself any less of a smasher than I was when I was a TO. It's just that the nature of being 24 has changed how I can contribute. Exactly. I don't contribute to the scene by TOing or like taking competition seriously at my local every week. But the things I do are I continue writing about Melee. I go to regionals and nationals. I review regionals and nationals, talk about what it's like for them, and prepare for those as competitors.
I think that that is a big part. Whether you get the acknowledgement or not, it definitely is a big part, and more ways than one. So big shout outs to you for that. Melee's now introduced, right? You know, so now we've talked a little bit about a pre Melee. Now we go into Melee's introduced into your life. You're playing now. How long into being someone that is involved in the scene did it take for you to finally think to yourself, you know what, I can treat this how I've been treating sports? I have my blog, you know, maybe at this point, I don't know exactly when you started your blog compared to Melee, but let's say, when did it click to you that, you know what, I could start doing some analytics for this? I could start talking about Melee on my blog. I could just talk about the game. When did that start?
I would say so I did my op-ed columns for a bit, and for entertainment and for obviously for sports in college, around like late 20 or like early 2015 or so. And I started my personal blog because I was about to graduate college pretty soon in 2016. So eventually I thought to myself, you know, I really enjoy doing opinion pieces in college about sports. I should probably continue doing this after I graduate. It'll be a good way of boosting my resume if I want to get a journalism job or something. It'll show that I still care and that I'm writing for myself on the website I'm maintaining. And then suddenly I just thought to myself, wait, why don't I just write about Melee? Because at that time I'd already been in like early 2016 or so, right before graduation. I had now been established as a TO and player in my local scene. I was balancing that with being a section editor for my paper that also wrote sports articles, and balancing that with being a student. Yeah. So I thought to myself, why don't I combine? Like, I won't have time to compete as much in Smash anymore. At least not weekly. But if I write about Melee, I can still continue following the scene in a way that I can still like enjoy it, learn from players, you know, for whatever it's worth, and still be just keep up to date on the news. Eventually I got a job that had nothing to do with journalism at a family friend's company. He and I are like super close. He's super supportive of me pursuing Melee writing as a side hobby and everything. Hell yeah. But yeah, I work in marketing for his company. But basically I continued doing this bit on the side. I started writing more about Melee. I had the Smash History series where I reached out to Pika to help me about that. I eventually just started writing about other Melee stuff on my own, mostly Melee history oriented. I didn't actually start the Monday morning columns until last year. But before that, I continued writing about Melee history. Around December of 2016, I just had the idea, or November. I think, you know, it's so when the whole like year in review Smash History series happened, we used to be covered on like weekly by the Commentator's Curse, which is Blur and Tafo's show. So they'd always reference our article our like me and Pika's articles and argue over them. And eventually, I think Tafo brought up, like, Tafo or Blur, one of them brought up a joke, like, one of us should write a Melee history book.
Let's just say it's Tafo. Just say it's Tafo. Don't give it a play.
Yeah, good idea. So Tafo mentioned it. Yeah, good idea. Tafo mentioned it, and I thought to myself, you know, I've probably written enough words on my personal blog to write a book about Melee, or to at least publish it based on just those articles. And I thought to myself, wait, why wouldn't I do it? Why don't I do it? Like, there's a book of basketball that exists for basketball. There's books on the history of other sports. Surely there's books on the history of other like competitive video games, esports. There's not really.
Nope.
There's like memoirs that are tangential to esports or competitive video games, but nothing like an encyclopedia or nothing like an actual like overview of its history.
Nothing like what you've got making, man.
I actually like, and I'm not saying this just to like brag or whatever. Like I have a pretty good understanding of like how small our scene is in the grand scheme of things. But I still like, it blew my mind that like no game like but I think that's because Melee has such a unique history. Like no game can say it's been around and achieve the same kind of spotlight and prominence of Melee as Melee, you know? So like within Melee, like this is one of the few games that there could be a history book about. And the best thing about it is it's been around for so long that like the way you access information that you could write a book on is so easy. A ton of the information's public. Just watch a YouTube video of a PC getting interviewed by MLG. Watch the Smash doc. Like, just follow an event. Like, go through Smashboards threads. Like, this is all public information. That's
use fucking Google. Yeah, like all of this is there for you. Just someone needs to do it.
And Captain Jack's blog was fantastic. Their original draft of my book, which I completed in early 2018. So I started working on it in December of 2016. I kind of went up and down in terms of my motivations, but I completed the book in like early 2018. My original copy was 220 pages. My copy right now is, and this is a Word document, so it's actually even bigger.
That's even longer.
Yeah, so I ended up having to cut like, I want to say like 50 or 60,000 words from the book. And this was like stuff going into like Midwest Melee lore, right? So talking about like the first crew battle ever, or like a Midwest challenge, aka FC0. Like there's at least like 50,000 words that I could probably do a whole like Lost Chapters series on, that I just cut out. I ended up cutting out of the book, not because like the information's not valuable, but just like it creates so many narratives that make it tough for a reader to follow.
Right.
And I just thought for like I even cut things like Paragon LA from the book. I cut like Axe and Amsa.
R.I.P. Mr. Ellis.
Yeah, Axe and Amsa are two people that. One of my big regrets of the book is that I didn't give them more attention, just because it was so hard to like fit them into the narratives about like Leffen, Hungry Box, and like all these other people that I already established as central figures. So like it's not that Axe and Amsa aren't important. They're incredible. Like they're meta game changing character, or I shouldn't say characters. I'm
players
thinking,
for their characters. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Thinking like how I represent in the book. It's not that I think that they're like somehow greater than humans, you know, like one of the things I tried to do in the book was humanize every like leading figure and
of course
and present them in a way that was different, or at least like more empathetic and sympathetic outside of a trope. So like with the Leffen in particular, there's like a very easy way of telling a story, which is like, oh, the villain turned like redeemed anti-hero. But like I like to think the way I portrayed him in the book was like a little more complicated. Like and it wasn't like, and the way I tried approaching was not telling the viewer what to think. Like Leffen is not the villain, King is not the robot, like Mango is not the natural, you know, like that is an effective way of telling a story in documentary style, which is what Samix did. But, you know, writing long form content, I had a lot more freedom in what information I wanted to present. You
can get a lot more in depth. I feel like in a video documentary, if you don't have all these little pieces that you can just kind of piece together, it's 100% tough. Also, really quickly, just going back on your footnote about Axe and Amsa trying to like humanize them more as players than their characters. In their defense, they both really are some of the nicest fucking people like you could come across.
So they're actually like so. Axe. Okay, I gotta tell you a really funny but awkward story I have with
Go
Axe.
for it.
Okay, so this is like just when I started melee writing. So Shine 2016. Axe. So I'm at the after party. I recognize Axe like right next to me. We're like watching someone play VR at Laugh Boston. Like we have a screen and everything. I don't really say anything to him. He turns and Axe turns to me and I swear that this is not like I will like it. I swear this is entirely true. He turns to me and he goes, "You think those people ever watch porn in VR?" Like he has no idea who I am. Like he probably knows that I recognize him, but like I don't. I'm not like I try to make conversation with him, and I just look at him. I'm like, "What? And what'd you say, Axe?" And he was like, and then he goes like, I'd watch porn if I had VR. Like just trying to make conversation with me, and it was just like, like I kind of nervously laughed, and we just talked a little bit, and it was actually like kind of nice, like this guy who's the greatest mid-tier player ever, among the, I guess depending on how you count Plup or.
Oh my god. No. Samus is high tier. Fuck that noise. She's high tier.
Yeah, but like I don't know, it's just like pretty like just having someone of a legendary stature in a game. Like just be like so frank and just like he's like talking to me like I'm a regular guy. He's not talking to me like I'm some peon that's like, oh my god, it's Axe.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's a very intimate, like very down to earth sort of.
Wow.
I guess intimate's probably not the best word I could have used in that context. You
talking about porn, we got some intimacy going on. Feels good, man.
It's such a random thing, like Axe just.
Dude, that just seems so believable just because of that Summit skit with the never have I ever jerked off in front of or in the Summit house, whatever.
It's funny.
That's amazing. I was gonna try and one up this story. I can't even one up it. The only funny Axe story I have is and this is recent from Pound 2019. My buddy big shout out. I feel like there's like 3 people I'll forever like name drop probably in like episodes of this show, but one of them is my good friend Codeman Cody. He in his pool had to verse S2J, and Codeman is a Pichu main, and
I know Codeman. I know the legend of Codeman.
So he took a game off S2J. Meanwhile, as he takes that game, Axe is like walking over because we're just getting hyped, and I guess like he might be hearing us saying like, "Yo, a Pichu is doing this shit," like all this shit or whatever. And he walks over and he sees what happened. And he's just like, "What's going on here?" I was just like, "Oh, this guy just take a game off S2J," and he goes, "With Pichu?" I was like, yeah, he's a Pichu man. He does like the pizza what face from like every Summit skit and just goes, nice, and like immediately takes out his phone and like put his tweet out about how like a Pichu player just took a game off S2J. And I thought it was so funny.
Pound. How were you? How was your Pound experience?
Very fun because of fun liquids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I didn't compete, but I just went to kind of hang out. I was trying to get a commentary spot way back. Didn't work out. I didn't go through the methods right. I probably should have. But no, overall it was a great experience. A lot of great people.
I was at Pound also, so.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Fuck! How did I miss so many? Dude, there were so many people that I got like messages from after the fact that were just like, "Hey, I was at Pound. I saw you in photos. Didn't say hi." I was like, I didn't fucking know. I'm sorry. Like,
I didn't know you were at Pound. That's so funny.
You hate to see it. Well, there's always. I'm trying to go to Shine, so I'll see you there.
Oh, word. Yeah, you'll definitely see me there.
Hell yeah.
You'll see me get wasted.
Fuck yeah. See that's a follow-up question for off the pot. Fuck it. You're a drinker. You're a big fan of the drinker. Let's go. We'll definitely hit up a bar or two then.
For sure, man.
Fuck, how did we get into this conversation?
So we were talking about the book. Something about
yeah.
I was talking about how I regret like because just for the sake of like ease of narrative and for like reader like just their ability to follow along.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up I feel like I gave players like Axe, Amsa, and Hax like a bit of a shaft because like
sure
like they're still mentioned in the book, but like their stories are really interesting. Wait, why am I talking about things I regret? No, I'm trying to say it's really cool, guys. I promise. Like I think I do a good job humanizing the central figures, like obviously Mango, H-Box, Mute King, stuff like
Hell,
Café.
even early on, your discussions about Ken and Chillin, like just going more into that when, because I mean, we can kind of skip ahead. I don't want to go too in depth on this yet, just because I wanted to follow along with it. But like, I consider myself a doc kid. I very much do. The documentary is big time what got me into Melee.
It's one of the most important things for the scene. It got so many people into the...
Exactly. And I think reading as much of your book as I did, and I intentionally didn't finish it because I wanted to have this conversation with you and then finish it as well.
Yeah.
But I think getting into the book as much as I was, rereading some of these scenes that I could almost instantly visualize in my head from the documentary was so cool and so interesting to see another aspect with a little bit more information. Hell, I'll spoil one thing of what I'll touch on later.
No, talk about whatever you want. The book's gonna be
for sure. Well, no, this isn't even about like the book, because this is totally public. It's the mad dashing. I had no fucking clue that's what wave dashing was ever called ever. I never did the Smashboards research. I had no idea mad dashing is wave dashing. Like, that was something I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, how is this a thing? And learning all these new aspects while being able to visualize it's sick. So I think you're doing a great job on it. I don't want you to undersell that at all. You're humanizing everyone very well. Like this post if you agree, you know.
I like that. I like that you mentioned Ken and Chillin, because one of my favorite segments to write was the spoilers, guys. But in MLG Atlanta 2005, after Ken won the tournament, he talked in the Smashboards threads about how everyone is like, and the documentary had a way of showing this when they talked to Ken. But I just thought this was really convenient because it's just literally a post where he talks about like, yeah, I don't really enjoy Smash, but I play it. Or I like playing Smash sometimes, but I don't enjoy playing it as much because the community is filled with jerks who want to see me lose. And Chillin literally writes back like, yeah, we want to see you lose, because not necessarily because of you, but because we want to see the underdog win. Also, you're a jerk. And you talk about how you don't like Melee, but you fly here and come take our money.
That's actually so funny.
I think there's an understated thing about this, like that this is a time when like a lot of the scene in the like MLG era, they're teenagers or like late teenagers, right? Like Asen's graduated or is about to graduate high school. Like he doesn't know how long he's gonna be playing Melee for. Like Ken literally talks about like, yeah, I've been playing Melee because I want to pursue an art career and I want to go to like college, and it's just very different than like the bloodthirsty competitor, you know? It's the guy who just wants to like do art for a living.
It's the guy that's just here to snag your money and go draw a fucking stick figure. But
and then and Chillin, like even the little anecdote about Chillin and his brother Mild when they sneak, I believe I put this in as a footnote, but he and his brother Mild snuck out to Smash for Cash in New York, all the way from Virginia, and they just lied to their parents and told them that, like, that's wild. Can you imagine telling that? Like, my parents would barely let me go to like a friend's house after 9 o'clock, like let alone go to they just straight up were like, yeah, we went to I forgot what their excuse was. They said they went on vacation somewhere with Asen and his family. I forget what it ended up was off the top of my head. But like, and then they're just like going to New York with these strangers in a car. Like it's absurd. Like if you told someone who wasn't in Melee, they straight up would not believe you.
No, not at all. And I think you even touched on something like that in the earlier chapters too, when Asen first started playing with people that weren't Chillin and Chu. Like he just went to a random dude's house and Chillin was just like, wait, are you serious? Like you could literally get abducted. Like this shit's just weird.
Yeah, especially like I won't go too in detail on it, but just like at a very cursory glance, I do think it is somewhat relevant. Like this is an especially scary time to do it because, you know, like this is post 9/11, right? This is like age of the internet, post 9/11, stranger danger is really high. You know, Chillin is young. He's also Chillin is young. There's like talking to strangers on the internet. Like we take it for granted now, but like back then it's like, oh, they'll find out where you are. Like they'll abduct you or whatever. Like so, for Asen and Chillin to take that leap and like meet other people and even like lie to their parents about it or hide it. It's just bonkers in compare. Like just.
I would not do it. I would not do it.
It's one of a kind. Like, these guys literally loved Melee so much that they just wanted to play anyone. And especially, like, oh my god, when they go to their first tournament outside of that American Legion, like, they go to their first, like, 30 or like 40% that Kengo's room or whatever, and there's, like, all these adults there, and then just these out-of-place teenagers, and they meet, like, Chudat at one of these kinds of events. Chu beats Asin, and Chillin's like, wait, I've never met anyone as talented at video games as Asin. I gotta meet this guy. So he meets this, like, eccentric Chudat. Like, it's just, like, a really cool image. Like,
Definitely.
And their ages, it's an understated aspect of the early part of the Smash scene. Everyone forgets how young everyone was.
Everyone was. There's still people that are still kind of hella young that go to the amount of, like, kids I saw at Pound, I thought was super interesting too, that this game is still attracting such a younger
Samu was like
players.
17 or 18 or whatever, you know? Like, it blows my mind.
What's
that
I doing
kid,
Lil Pastry? Isn't there someone named Lil Pastry?
Like 14 or something, yeah.
The fuck is that? Like, that kid's a legend. I've fucking heard of this kid.
What was I doing when I was 14? Like,
I was playing Melee. I was playing Melee, but I was playing it wrong. I had no fucking clue. I didn't look. I didn't try. I was stupid. Oh, I would have been so fucking good. Anyway. so we progress on.
When we all, my friend, when we...
If I could go back.
Yeah, see, every player thinks like that. Like, oh, if I just did this differently, I would be at a major top 8.
I'm trying to remember who talked about it. I don't think it was Blur again. Gonna not give him the credit. Someone was talking about this recently, about, like, how it would feel to go back in time and be good during a time that no one's good, or when, like, people aren't good. Like, how good do you feel being someone that's good at a video game when the meta is so undeveloped?
Oh, you mean like traveling back on a time machine, and I just beat
exactly
like Captain Jack in 2000.
Exactly. Like, let's say going back in time, like, oh, I made it to MLG, time to go win this tournament because fucking people suck at their spacing and their neutral is fucking pathetic and boring. Like,
yeah,
no.
people just, like, straight up lied about Melee back then. Like, oh, tech skill doesn't matter. You just need mind games.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
There's so much I didn't touch upon this as much in the book, but it's so funny looking back. If you read old Smashboards posts, there are things that, like, players today who have been playing for a year would just immediately scout at as wrong. Like, oh, don't bother tech chasing with Fox against Fox. It's impossible. Just up throw up smash. It's like, no! How do these people not know?
It's actually fucking insane, but shout out to a meta.
Don't chain grab. It's lame in tournament.
It's lame. Yeah, there you go. That'll get you good. Hey, don't use good things.
It's amazing. People just have, like, completely warped perceptions of the game. Like, you know, Yoshi loses or goes even with Bowser. It's like no one today would say that. Like, these are just random, like character counterpicking used to be common. Like Aslan would like beat Ken in the Marth Ditto, but then lose to his Falcon. So Aslan would go Fox, but then, like, Ken would go Fox or something, and then Aslan would pick, like, Mute City or Congo Jungle 64 with Peach against Ken's Fox. Just like the way people saw Melee was so, like, primitive, you know, because, like, they didn't have 20XX or like the resources or like Uncle Punch or resources that we do today. But it's just, like, funny how, like, there's just, like, even in the post Brawl era, like, the ideas of what was, like, possible versus what wasn't is ridiculous. Like, Hacks used to think that crouch canceling was terrible as Falcon. So if you watch videos of Hacks, like, he's so fast and really hard to hit because you can tell how, like, risk averse he is. Whereas, like, if you watch Falcons today, like, they all crouch cancel, like, routinely.
Yeah, it's really fucking good.
Yeah, because it was never seen as, like, it was never, like, before seen as, like, doable to, oh, like, yeah, you could, if you get hit on a platform at this, or if the opponent hits you at this position when you crouch, you actually have this many frames to crouch cancel stomp.
It's like one of those. Hey, I'll tell you a secret. Falcon can play lame. What the fuck? Wait, what? Falcon lame? No, that doesn't happen, dude. I just fucking Falcon punch all day, dude. Fucking give me my brewski. Like,
stop, no. Down air to fair.
Down air fair, dude. Down air fair. It's never looked cooler, bro. No, crouch cancel? Psh, Get that shit out of here.
I've been playing a little bit of Falcon on the side lately, just like with my friends.
Hell yeah.
On the side. I will say, like, down throw knee might be really simple, but it looks so cool.
Not.
It looks so sick when you do it.
He's a big buff Chad kneeing these virgin foxes.
Virgin Sheiks, Fox, Falcos, Mars.
Anything. Ices? Bless. But
I love sneaking behind Ices, like going behind their shield, and then when they like just spam grab or something, you're already behind them, but they're just like mashing A while in shield, right?
Yeah.
So you go behind them, you just raptor boost. It hits like they're still recovering from grab. It's not always good, but like sometimes you can just sneak. You can get it. You can sneak it by. You just raptor boost Nana and knee her twice, and she's dead.
It's a
so
great
funny.
feeling. It's a great feeling to just take out Nana within a few seconds. But enough about our hatred for ice climbers that I know we both have. We could. I do want to talk more about and we've touched on this a little bit already. Melee stats. You know, like this is something that is. I feel like when we talk about it, some people might be thinking, oh, these guys mean Tafo stats. These guys have been fucking up and just saying Tafo stats is melee stats. Not correct. No. Not correct, actually. This guy and a few other heads, you have people for your podcast, save as Untitled Wheat, because melee stats was co-created by you and someone else, wasn't it? I can't.
So melee stats was actually founded, I believe, by Oven.
Okay.
Who's a British Columbia smasher. He plays Peach. He did a lot of so we still like Tafo is actually part of melee stats. So I don't.
It's not Tafo stats though. It's not.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's like so there's different. So melee stats in a nutshell is just a Discord of melee enthusiasts that that eventually just became close friends after 3 years or so, or like 2.5 years. So it started off as a public Discord, but then like some people just stopped posting and more people started posting than others. So just people left and like other people who were just inactive got kicked out. It was really funny actually. But because it was just like they wouldn't post
like my
for,
Discord.
Like, 6 months. So like we'd talk randomly about like super personal things and they'd be like, okay, well, this probably shouldn't be a public Discord. So it ended up being like, so let me actually go to the staff page let me end up going to the staff page of Melee Stats right now. And basically Oven and Wheat are the main administrators of the podcast server. So, or not the like private, like the friend server.
Okay.
So there's basically like me so I do the Monday morning Marth stuff. I vote in SSBM rank each year. There's Dingus who does the Wens Melee weekly column.
Shout out to that
not really
name.
Column, but yeah, Dingus Master.
I love calling people a dingus. It's great.
There's Ambi Sinister who occasionally does like long form research, and like long form research and statistical analysis for his like personal blog. There's Gimme That Wheat, who's basically the main data tracker, and he's one of the seeders for nationals and regional events. There's Pikachu 942, who is the guy that I did the Smash History series with, and that he mostly does seeding now. There's Practical Tasks. There's 343, who's another seeder. He's a NorCal. He used to write articles for Team Liquid. There's YCZ6, the Samus player.
Yep.
He posts all that like really cool posts all the cool like combos and stuff in training mode. There's Fairfax, who tracks viewership data. There's KB, who writes all the Japanese Melee articles. He does like the recap on Japan. He's from Korea, but he writes about the Japanese scene a lot.
Okay.
And he TOs the Korean scene. There's Oven, who I talked about, who does he helps keep track of data and Tafo stats. There's Fire, the Jigglypuff player from SoCal, who maintains like YouTube playlists of a ton of Melee videos and basically like saves Twitch VODs. And then there's Chroma and Tafo, who I'm sure both of you know.
Who are they?
Yeah, so just in case people, so I assume everyone listening to this knows Tafo, but Chroma is the San Diego commentator. He like commentates major top 8s and stuff. So like it's kind of weird. There's like the seeder part of Melee Stats, then there's the podcasters, then there's like the writers, and then there's like the people who are part of Melee Stats, but they're like our friends. But we all basically do run a Discord, the Melee Stats podcast Discord, even though Oh yeah, and of course there's Save as Untitled, who did YouTube content around competitive Smash for a while. He was the main producer of our podcast,
Mhm.
so he's there too. Yeah, I believe that covers everyone.
Nice. That's a lot more people than I was expecting to read, even though I thought I looked at because I know you guys have the stat page on the website. I
Yeah,
definitely thought I looked at it, and holy shit, is that a lot more people than I thought I saw
it's just
on there.
basically, I think the best way I would explain it is it's just a bunch of Melee enthusiasts that became friends over two
Yep.
and a half years. So like technically the organization is like me and Dingus because we write for the website.
Right.
And like I'm the editor-in-chief of the site, but it's really us posting articles. And then like we have the seeders, then we have like friends of the show who are like like our mutual friends who are in the same server as us and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's like, I guess there's like Melee Stats the crew and Melee Stats the organization. Then
For
there's
sure.
like then of course like outside of our private core, there's like the guests on the show, and there's like other people in the scene that we met through like our I don't want to say like notoriety, but just like the people like realizing who we were and what we did. Most of us, I would say the easiest way to explain is that most of us just write articles on Melee, keep track of like Melee local, regional, and super major data, and see tournaments. Those are like that's like the easiest way I can
Fair
explain
enough.
it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. When you guys were first making this group together, and you guys started this website and things were starting to progress, what were some goals that you guys wanted to achieve with the website? And you might still be working towards them. What were some?
I'll be transparent about something. We had been friends for like a long time before we considered making the website or doing any podcast or anything super collaborative. It was just kind of like a hidden secret among like tournament organizers that like we were all friends and that we all like would occasionally be reached out to about seeding or like just about like different knowledge about Melee. Like we didn't actually become like super public facing until much like mid 2017, and
Okay.
even then like there was an article about us that was describing us as the seeders behind Melee tournaments, but like that's only partially true. So I don't know. It's funny that you're talking about like our goals and like ambitions or whatever, but honestly, like we don't really like we still do deep dives. Like we don't do the Melee Stats podcast anymore just because
Right.
our schedules didn't really balance out. But we still do deep dives every now and then, which is like a monthly or occasional podcast series led by Wheat. So like I guess we still do things. We don't have any like we're all different people, right? We all have our different goals and ambitions. It's just that like that Melee Stats is really, it's really, I think the best way I would say it is like, okay, you ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So Aqua Teen Hunger Force has nothing to do with water. It has nothing to do with teen. They're not like the whole like mystery thing about them isn't really a thing in the show, like by its conclusion.
Dude's a fucking meatball.
Yeah, the only thing that has to do with hunger is just like the main characters. Like
Yeah.
I had a read on you as an Aqua Teen, as someone knowing this, so I'm glad that I ended up being right. So Melee Stats, like it is true that like we do keep track of data and like local results and all of us follow the scene, but Melee Stats is really just a catch-all term to describe like huge Melee enthusiasts. That's the way I put it.
So when you guys start this website up, you guys get everything together, you got this group of fellas hanging out, having a good time. What eventually clicks to start a podcast? Because I think podcasting, being someone that does it, is something that, at least for me, it took a lot of planning to kind of start. It took a lot of, what do I want out of this versus what am I actually going to get versus what is going to be the end result. Like, what did you guys think about when starting the Melee Stats podcast?
Not to give myself too much credit here, but I think I had wanted all of us to collaborate on something more public facing for a while that wasn't just some of us doing seeding.
Okay.
I had done so obviously Pika and I had worked together on the Smash history articles. We actually, if you look in my personal YouTube, you'll find an old podcast I used to do called the Smash History Podcast that I did with Pika. It's really funny because I'm much less confident of a public speaker, and you can tell I'm still kind of getting to my groove as a communicator that isn't through writing, if that makes any sense. Like, I'd always been at least like competent at writing, but I wasn't always good at expressing myself. impromptu. So when I started doing the show, you could tell Pika and I were younger. We were a little more nervous, kind of giggly, because it's the idea like, oh, we're starting a podcast together.
Yep.
So we'd have these 3-hour podcasts where we'd go deep into every tournament. Oh man, we would scout out like top 64. We'd talk about the most random stuff. Like we'd argue about if Chip Washington Marth was gonna beat West Balls and stuff like that. Just like it was called the Smash History Podcast, but it eventually just became like a news show. But we ended up stopping it after a while because our schedules didn't align, and then we were both in Melee Stats at that time, and we ended up we had known each other for a while. I wanted to start a Melee Stats website or do some kind of collaborative thing, and I just brought up the idea, why don't we do a podcast with all of us, like the Melee Stats podcast. And we had a trial episode that didn't go well because all of us were super unprepared, and everyone forgot about it for a couple of months, or at least like 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And then around like February or March, or maybe like in March or April or something, I just brought up the idea to Save, who is now in the Discord. And I said, yeah, why don't we get the guys together and we do a Melee Stats one? You're pretty good at video producing. Like I trust your video production elements, and I think you'd be a good producer, and like it'd be cool to have you on the show because I can rely on you. I know you do weekly like YouTube videos, so he actually doesn't do. He's actually been taking a break from that lately, but yeah. But that's something else. Anyway,
sure.
I knew he had done this for a while, and I thought he'd be good. So Save and I launched the podcast episode with a couple of the other Melee Stats guys. The original idea was to have our completely rotating cast with Save producing every week, but it ended up just kind of just to be frank, it ended up just being me and Save on almost every week. There was actually like 1 or 2 weeks where I believe neither of us were on. We had Wheat host it, but eventually like the dynamic was very interesting because it was like Save would produce and be on the show. I would typically be the main like guy in preparation for the show, so I'd prepare all the topics. I'd actually have a list of things that each person was going to say. It was quite scripted, really. Like it's a little absurd looking back on it because I wasn't very good at preparing or at banter like the other people. Right. So what I would come into is I would prepare a lot. Like I would have pre-written sentences or things that I wanted to say. I would talk to people on the show before about what they were going to say, just so I knew what to expect. I would even like map conversation paths and think about like ways of directing the show depending on how conversations turned out and how topic directions would turn out.
Right.
It was just funny because I found out how I podcasted, how I like to podcast, what my strengths and what my weaknesses were. It's a very intimate thing, especially when you do it with a group of your friends and people. So it was really fun to do it while it lasted.
It definitely sounds like something that you could just kind of go off of for a while. Like when you have a group of friends with the same common interests or the same type of appreciation for something. It makes sense on it. I'm like a huge advocate and big fan of the official podcast, which is just like 4 guys that are just bullshitting for a good hour and a half about just whatever they want. And if they have a guest on, they talk with them. Their first question almost always is like, how often and what is a funny masturbatory tale you could tell us? So like I completely understand the whole fucking like rant for a few hours, have a good time with your buddies, especially about something as interesting as Melee. So
but the thing is with me, banter never came naturally, right? Because I hate this. I hate it when people say I'm a writer, but like I like organizing my thoughts before I say it. Like being a on-air personality doesn't come naturally. I have to organize what I say, or at least I have to write it down and have a medium in which I can fully express myself, because otherwise I come off pretty badly. And maybe it's just a Marthmain thing, because I notice other Marthmains have this problem, but that's a whole other thing.
I think you're doing great. I don't know what would make you think that. I think you got a good way to work.
I think I'm doing fine now, but that's because I've had practice at it.
Okay. I mean, dude, no one starts off well. Dude, if I go back and I feel so bad about this because like one of my favorite players of all time and one of my favorite people in the scene of all time is Mike Hayes. I think he's one of my favorite guys to like talk to, and like
he's very friendly.
He's a very nice guy. And he was the first person I ever had on the show. And when I was first doing it, I put out like not like a questionnaire, but I put out a post on like all my social medias, Facebook included, saying like, hey, if you have any questions for this guy, he's a video game player, like leave them below and I'll ask him on stream. And for some fucking reason, I thought it was a good idea to ask this question that someone left on my Facebook comments, which was, what is your favorite kind of taco? Like, what kind of fucking question is that to just ask a Smash player when the whole time...
I'm not gonna lie, that is really funny.
That's a shit question, though. Like sure, I can laugh at it now. I can totally laugh at it now. But, like, looking back on it, I'm like, that was the ending question. That was the last thing I asked him before. Like, I don't go back and listen to that episode, and I hope no one else does either. But like,
I don't know. I might have to know his answer.
Don't.
What's his favorite kind of taco?
Ready for this though? This is another reason why I love him. His response: pink.
Oh, jeez.
Yup. He just straight ruins any form of children understanding a joke, of parents allowing their kids to watch my show. He just fucking destroys that, and I was so happy he did that, because I thought it was so awkward that I just asked that question, and then he's just like, oh, here, let me just make this really funny real quick and awkward at the same time. So
Mike's a super friendly guy. He was
definitely.
When I met him for the first time in SoCal, this is like 4 years ago. So I was working in SoCal over the summer, and I was trying to find Melee events to go to. And I remember meeting him, and he was one of the few people I recognized, and I didn't really know who else to talk to, because I had been in Melee for a bit, but being part of a new scene or joining a new scene, it's hard to make friends or talk to people that you don't recognize. And I recognized who Mike Hayes was, but I didn't want to leech on to someone as just like an annoying person.
Exactly.
So I just told him, hey man, I recognize you, but I don't really know anyone else here. Do you mind showing me around and like introducing me to a few people? And he was so friendly. It was at a Final Destination, actually. This is a old, I don't know if it's around anymore. I don't think it is.
I haven't heard of it since, at least.
Anyway, so he introduced me to a couple of people. And when I met him again at Mayhem, he actually recognized who I was and introduced me to Hugs. I'm sure Hugs doesn't remember this, and a bunch of other people. And he was just super friendly. And I remember he streamed back then. I used to check on his stream all the time. He'd listen to rap, sometimes freestyle over stuff. Also,
dude, his rapping is actually, he's got a new project. Sorry to interrupt. I have to hype up my boy. He's got a new project coming out soon. I'm so hyped for him.
Really
Mike, let's really fucking go, dude.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that he like works a job in esports now. He still, I think competition's kind of taken the backseat for him relative to like life priorities. But yeah, he had his rap album last year, and like, as someone that's releasing a book this year, I hold even greater respect toward people that are creating things. So a lot of respect to Mike. And he's just like a very friendly guy. He's still he came up to me last year at China and asked how I was doing and everything. The funny thing is, I don't even think he recognized me from the years before. But at that point last year, he knew who I was, so he was talking to me about my work, about like my columns, like my Melee history stuff. And
right.
He seemed genuinely interested. So
for
sure.
Shout
out to Mike. Really
Mike, if you want to come back on the show and defend yourself, feel free, dude. But yeah, just make sure you hit
defend. I speak great for him.
No, for sure. One last thing about Melee stats I want to talk to you about before we finally move on to the book, which I'm very excited to also talk a little bit about, was you also have a top 100 list that is currently going on. We're not even done with it yet, and I very much enjoy looking at some of these sets that I personally haven't even thought of as being as inspirational as these really are. But as I was going through this list, I was starting to think to myself, what might someone that is known for, well, not known for, but does a lot of work with analytics and researching these players think is, and I'm going to give you 3 categories here, the most inspiring / inspired player, who is the most disliked player, and who is the most watched player of all time. So for
Ooh,
all these
okay.
characters, if you were to think of we'll start with the first one. Who do you think is the most inspiring player of all time, going way, way back to May 1st, 2019?
And when you say inspiring, you mean just like to anyone who watches Melee?
Yes.
So anyone. I think in terms of just like their whole story, I think it has to be he's the most popular player among like the general Smash audience. I think it has to be Mewtwo for overcoming just like his own personal demons, like overcoming his social anxieties, not always getting along with other people, like both for reasons out of his control and reasons that people genuinely found grimy and like kind of hurting them a little bit. But I think he grew up so much in the scene, and there's a reason that he is like the most Reddit popular player.
Yeah, and Twitter, I think now.
Yeah, I don't mean this derisively when I say that. I mean it sincerely. Like, he has a story that anyone can relate to. Like, I don't know how much I agree with it necessarily, but the idea that someone with very little quote unquote talent in Melee would study the entire game, overcome his own social deficiencies in order to become the best player in the world, and then remain top 5 and pursue Melee and competing in multiple Smash games as a career over a decade. I really think that they're like say what you want about Mewtwo fans or whatever, but like I think he sincerely has a pretty good case for most inspiring player, and like especially his approach to improving in terms of like knowing more about the game, finding ways to quote. I think solving situations is a little simplistic, but like just his research and ways of getting better in the game are like say what you want about the tons of people that like idolize them or super praise them or just like excuse any loss he has or whatever. I think that like his story is the most recognizably inspiring, and that's why he choice.
For sure. I wasn't even thinking about that answer, to be honest. I don't know why Mewtwo King didn't pop into my head, but hearing your explanation about that is huge. That is very big.
I'll put it this way. In every Smash article I've written, whether it's about Smash history, whether it's about like blog or my Monday morning column, the one name that always gets more clicks and more reads and more comments and more like support than anyone else I bring up is Mewtwo King. So from my personal experience of talking about and researching each of the players, the fact that Mewtwo King by far gets the most popular reception makes him
100%.
He's inspired that many people.
I agree too. I big time agree. Shout out to Johnny Gamble in the chat too. He makes a good point as well, saying how M2K is just like almost overall one of the most well-known smashers just in general. Like, as much as he can be inspiring, he's also just known. I'm trying to remember what happened today. I was looking at photos from Pound. Some of the photographers have uploaded photos from the event, and I was looking to see, because you do that, I was going through seeing if I'm in any of these, and M2K was in one of the photos, and my dad, being someone that has only watched and like heard the documentary before with me on like the 5-hour car rides out to my college and back, he sees M2K on one of these photos, and like as I'm scrolling down, he's like standing behind me, and he stops me. He's like, wait, hold on, scroll back up. Who's that again? Who's that? And I like tell him like that's M2K. He's like, oh yeah, no, I recognize that name.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
even my fiance knows, even she knows who Mewtwo King is. Like.
It's a household name.
And whenever I was telling some of my coworkers about the different top players I write about in my book, and you know who the first person that they remember and they asked about weeks later was? They said, "Oh, like how's that guy doing you wrote about? You said people called him the robot or something. I want to know about the robot." And I was like, "You want to know about Mewtwo King?" And it's funny because like I position him a little differently in the book, but like that's what they remember him as, right? Yep. Like it's so recognizable. So that's why he's
amazing. For sure. All right, category 2, most disliked. Who do you think within all your history, all your research? Because I have an answer that I know you're not gonna give. I know you're not gonna give this one, so I definitely want to hear what you're gonna say, and then I want to just give my take really quickly.
For most disliked,
yes.
There's so many different ways you could go with this.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the sake of argument, I'm not gonna count like criminals or like people that got banned from the scene.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's a fair disclaimer.
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you threw that in there because I wasn't even thinking that. So I'm really glad
that was like the first thing. And this is just in Melee, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so because like Salem's pretty unpopular right now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he's the most disliked. He might be the most. He might be the most dunked on person in like a short period of time. But hold on.
He's definitely the 4-foot guy getting dunked on by the 7s.
All right. Okay. I think I have a pretty disliked though. Not.
Yes.
I think for actually disliked among the general population, I sincerely think it's Leffen among the most disliked.
Okay.
I think among like the active melee players, there's much more respect for Leffen. There's much more like people who actually enjoy him and like him and like subscribe to his stuff. I think he's one of my favorite players and probably the player I've gained among the most admiration for since writing this book. His strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
And flaws, But I think among the general population, again, I'm counting people that just watch Super Majors, like maybe watch highlight videos, like I'm counting even then. There is a pretty good reason, and it's not just the fact that he plays Fox. There's a good reason that many of Melee's memorable moments involve Leffen getting dunked on, or Leffen losing, or Leffen getting comboed. Like, remember 2014? You said you're sort of a doc kid, right?
Yep.
Do you remember the influx of combo videos that involve like Leffen, that combo, it's a long ball going gone,
it's
or the reverse reverse Farrakhan combo where D1 and Proc are like, oh, that Mutaking hits on him, like that combo, that stupid combo
from coast to coast.
Yeah, from coast to coast. That combo was in every single combo video for a span of like 2 years, so and then the 6-0, like dude, people don't.
You can't just force stock me, Mango.
Yeah, you can't, like, Mango's force, like, this is it. Like, so many moments involve Leffen getting dunked on. And it's like, and it's because he's such a, like, take no prisoners, like, he beats himself up, too. Like, it's such a, like, for a long time in the scene, like, he was seen as such a villain. And, like, even dude, I'm just going to put it to you this way. Even people that don't follow Smash, like, they may not even watch Super Major Top 8s. If they know of competitive gaming, they know of Chillin versus Leffen.
Yep.
That has entered the Dark Side Phil versus low tier God level, like, meme territory gaming beef that even, like, people adjacent to competitive gaming know of.
I'm not lawful. Make this pussy stop talking, man.
Yeah, it's infinite. It's immortal. It's immortal words. It's like
they're god tier phrases.
So my pick is Leffen for that specific reason. And the reason I picked Leffen and not Hungrybox is because I think there's been enough like backlash to Hungrybox and like people who don't dislike or people who do dislike him, and enough people who dislike him but not for for really shallow reasons that there's enough of a pushback against it, right?
Yeah.
So top player and community figures will be like, hey, this is not the right way you should treat HBox, and like people outside the scene will step in and like see people like throwing a crab at him for winning. Like, come on. And that
dude, in my opinion, actually fully deserves the ban. But we'll leave that for another. If anyone wants to Twitter fight me.
Yeah, basically there are really stupid things that people say to H. There's enough stupid things and stupid like actions that people take or say on HBox where like enough others in the scene recognize or like whoa, like that's not okay. That's not okay. At least in my opinion, that like. I don't see him as more historically disliked than Leffen. Yep. Does that make any sense? That's why
HBox never got banned. Let's just
like Leffen literally got banned from his continent. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's.
I always think that's a really funny point. But no, there's all love though for both of them. I have no shade for HBox. I got no shade for Leffen. You know who I do have fucking shade for, and who I genuinely think is the most disliked Smasher of all time. Ready for this one? That you might know who I'm talking about because you're East Coast. You ever heard of Fortune?
Yeah, I know. Oh, jeez. He's the
He
most
might
disliked.
be, in my
Okay, yeah, I
opinion,
guess
within Smashers that know what he did, within that
that's
fucking
funny.
making SGSD, because
That's
he
funny.
paused to let you get your fucking controller plugged back in.
That's really funny.
I don't want to. I don't want it. I don't want it, man. I just. All I want is.
It's the
I
most
just want this
disliked.
on record. I just want this on record. Through my eyes, you're the most fucking disliked player to me, and that's what
Dude,
matters.
dude. People especially because like it's such a grimy thing. But I like now that you mention it, like so many people have seen that like clip,
Yup.
right?
Yep.
Probably like hundreds of thousands. They
Good.
probably like single-handedly like associate. Oh, that's actually so funny.
He's
Imagine,
also
like,
a puff player. He's also a
oh
puff
my god!
player.
Imagine like doing something that like if it was within a small group of friends, it'd be really annoying. But
Yeah.
you like might make fun of him. You might make fun of him like years later about it. But like now that you mention it, like hundreds of thousands of people have seen that. They probably like single-handedly like he could be a totally fine person in the scene, but they just like know him for.
He's got a shit stain on
creative.
my underwear of life. I'll tell
So
you
many
that.
people like recognize him. So many
I
people
haven't seen
like that's what they like. If you say fortune to like the fortune smasher, like that is the first thing that people would see. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I got that memory. I remember, and I will never
Yeah.
forget that. So
that's
just
really
glad
funny.
glad I got to get that out of the way. I've been dying to be able to talk about that once. And finally, who do you think is the most watched player? So the most amount of time people have spent watching, like, if you were to take a wild guess, what player has the most minutes viewed on YouTube, whether it's combo videos, VODs, highlights, whatever, who do you think has it?
I was gonna make a joke about Sal Inspector, Tang, Zoo, and Lucky because of the wombo combo.
You think that one video has the most amount of views?
No.
I wonder.
I don't know what the actual
Yeah.
know what the actual account would be for that. But I'm gonna still say Mango because of Twitch subscriptions and the like how vastly popular his stream is, and also he's been enough on the big stage in the last 6 years since like Melee's Renaissance or whatever,
Yeah.
and he's by far the most popular streamer. I think even with Sound Inspector, Tang, Lucky, and Zoo taken into consideration, I think if you include Twitch hours watched or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's probably a safe pick, right?
I would agree. I just looked it up. Wombo Combo currently has 15 million views on YouTube. There's no way that sounds small to me. I feel like that's a low number.
15. I don't know. 15 is a lot, dude.
15
Like,
million though for a meme that went that viral. It's in everything. Tons of
Yeah,
people.
that's
There's
true.
an esports team now called Wombo Sports.
Yeah,
Like-
that's crazy, man.
What? And some of these guys, I shit you not, I don't want to be that guy, but some of these guys that are on that team didn't know Wombo Combo is
Yeah, they
from
probably
Smash.
they probably thought it was from like League of Legends
Or
something.
SpongeBob. Turn
Yeah,
the
or SpongeBob,
W to
yeah.
M for mini when it should be set to W for Wombo. And that's what the U. How fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's not
oh
even
my God.
Wombo.
I'm getting so triggered tonight.
Oh man, dude, that's actually a good point. Has Mango had more viewers like throughout his not just competing but also including his Twitch channel than
He
Sound
has to
Inspector,
have,
Tang,
right?
Lucky, and Zoo have in Wombo? I have no idea. Okay,
I've-
I'm gonna ask Fairfax. I mentioned the other Melee stats people. So Fairfax
Yeah.
keeps track of viewerships and he has a good handle on. He has like a database on different like majors. and
Social
how they
Blade?
perform.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask him. He'll give me an answer, and I'll give you an addendum to the show. To
We'll
put the
report
notes.
back. We'll
Yeah.
report back into editing. We'll put it in
but
post.
I'll guess that Mango.
Okay.
I will assume that his Twitch channel has more than enough viewers.
Honestly, I would lean between Mango and Ken, but the only problem with like assuming Ken is assuming that people even nowadays that are still getting into the game would ever go back and watch old
Yeah,
Ken.
that's the main thing that would stop me from saying Ken.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that like I think around the Smash doc, time that more people would look back. But I think there's so many resources to get into Melee now that even if you've seen the Smash Doc, like you wouldn't necessarily go watch Ken versus PC Chris. You know,
you don't need to. There's much better ways to practice. There's much better matches to analyze, especially because not many people, if any, still play like how they played back in the day. So yeah, it's a hard one to play. But I'll play with that of assuming Mango.
That's actually a really interesting question. I'm gonna ask this in the Melee Stats group.
Let's go. Get the stats boys on this.
Yeah, I got the actual like. It's funny because like you were asking me earlier about like analytics and like I guess you could call me an analyst, but honestly, like I kind of just see the way I see my column is I feel like I just kind of write from the perspective of someone who watches a lot of Melee and knows what it's like to have played. I don't think I'm like a very great analyst. I just think I'm a very honest writer. And very emotionally like
You're a narrator.
Yeah, like I think as far as like actual analysis goes, like I'm not Sleepy K, I'm not Tafokins, I'm not like I don't even think I'm Ambus Sinister, you know, like he's a very good I think he should do like an analysis, but like he's also focused on playing. But anyways, yeah, I think I'd like to say that I guess it's getting a little late, so I guess the thing I'd wrap up is buy my book, I do my research, I think I'm pretty open about like about the perspective I bring. I think I really want Melee Longform to have a place in our scene, and I think that there's merit in writing about Melee, talking about Melee, following Melee events, and treating Melee like a lifestyle. And it's one I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
That is so wholesome. I love that. I guess wrapping up, we will talk about what I was really excited to talk about, and this is the book. The man is writing a damn book, people. If you didn't know, now you know. The Book of Melee, the story of gaming's greatest grassroots community and the heroes who kept its heart beating, by our man here at Edwin Budding. Now, this book, I don't want to be that guy and like kind of humble brag for you guys, but I was given, you know, a little early access, a little sneak peek to get to take a look. And as humble as a man as I am, and definitely not because I'm a shitty reader and couldn't finish a book within a couple of days, I didn't even finish it without having some thoughts and some very interesting feedback I want to get. But I want to start with something I enjoyed. And I'm not going to spoil a lot for you guys because I want you to make sure you get this book. I want you guys to read this because this is a beautiful narrative. This is a great read from what I've seen so far, and I love a lot of what's discussed. And some things I like. First chapter, I don't know if you did this intentionally. The first chapter of the book, called Before Melee. You summarize. Yeah. you shorten that to BM. You got some BM in the chat. You know, people are a little mean to each other back in the day. I thought that was a little silly. I loved some of the.
Yeah, totally intentional. I didn't even think of that. That's pretty funny.
Oh, I love it. That was one of the first things that came into my head. Was Before Melee, it was all BM. Everyone was a bunch of dicks to each other, but they really weren't. It's just a silly haha. I loved some of the historical reminders and notes that are within the book. There's a lot of very interesting notes that some of you might not have known. We alluded to this earlier, talking about mad dashing. I had no idea we're still on that. I had no idea that wave dashing was also known as mad dashing until this. The original name for smash boards. There's a whole lot. I didn't know Azin's real name until reading the book. Again, stuff for you guys to, if you want to know it and you don't know it, like, there's just a whole lot. One of my favorite quotes that I saw, and again, this is something very early on, and you're talking about, or I think this was, you got this quote from someone, you might know what I'm talking about. It's this line: Christopher was a reserved teenager, Azim was a prodigy. I think that is such a sick fucking line, because it shows such a blur between this is what this person was in real life and in their everyday go to work 9 to 5, go home, sleep, eat shit, whatever, and then when they are among us, when they are among other smashers, they are not that person. They are completely different. And I think being someone that can almost relate to that, I borderline between being someone that loves to talk to people. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. I would much rather take a fucking nap for like 12 hours at a time than talk to people. But then there are other days where I'm like, can I sit down and have a conversation with my man Edwin Budding for almost 2 hours, because that's just the way of the road, right? I want to know.
As he went from being a teenager, like a reserved teenager who was considered by his friends to just be naturally good at whatever video game he wanted to play. He went from, like, you know, he was that, and then he was suddenly the king of the East Coast when it came to representing their Smash skills.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy how things turn out.
I guess the biggest thing that I want to get from you, and this is being someone that is also a podcast producer, this is someone that is now written and is finishing a nonfiction narrative about one of, in my opinion, the greatest games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
My man Edwin, when you are writing and when you are podcasting, what is something that you think about that is crucial to get across to your viewer or your listener or your reader, or just the person that you are making your content or your art for?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Totally. That was kind of goes on there. What do you think is the most important thing to get across as a viewpoint or as a message? Just what do you think is the most important thing to get across to your viewer, reader, listener, whatever, as you are making whatever content or art it is you're making?
I'm following what you're saying. Okay,
Gotcha.
I have a good answer to this. I think when it comes to writing about Smash, and particularly the perspective that I hope I'm at least sharing, is above celebrating Smash's successes or its failures, or even treating it like a rags to rich story. I think Smash, the main thing that people should take away from it and from reading about our community and reading about like its ups and downs, is its resilience. I think there's a lot of things about the Smash community that like if you read my Monday morning column, like you know, there's a lot of things that really bother me. I'm pretty outspoken about social issues in the scene. I show a lot of skepticism about Nintendo and like other Smash games as well. Like I'm kind of a Melee diehard that way, for better or worse. But you know, like I think the biggest thing is that I think that the coolest thing about Melee is that it was really all built by the players. So all these things that matter, they matter because we care about them. These players that we're invested in, they're invested because we're invested in those players because they chose to be invested about the game, and we're choosing to be invested in the game with those players. There's no like Nintendo prize pot. There's no like external source that controls the scene. Not even Blur, and Blur wouldn't want it like that. Blur wouldn't want it like that. It's the
We've
fact
mentioned Blur 4 times in this episode. This is terrible. This is awful.
But he'll but the main thing is just like everything about Melee is so grassroots. Like, okay, I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
Take a look at Genesis, one of the greatest, like the most important tournaments of all time from a player legacy standpoint. It would have never happened in so many other competitive games. Just picture this: a 16-year-old or a mid-teenage Swedish dude traveling all the way to the United States to play a game that just released a sequel a year ago. If he had lost, if he lost in like winners in pools or like winners round 1 or whatever, he was gonna go back to Sweden with like hundreds of dollars in the red, nothing to show for his efforts. But he went anyways because he just loves Melee. He loved Melee that much. The story of Armada and how he went to Genesis and beat everyone. He ended up getting second, but he beat everyone that threw in his path. That a random dude from Sweden would just come to America, carry his continent on his back, just to prove how good he was in Super Smash Bros. And test himself against the world league. It's not happening in other games because of Melee's because of the way Melee is set up and how the community operates. The open bracket system. Melee is one of the few games that you can, or like the few areas of competition where you can enter for the first time and you could be told like you're playing Mango on stream. You know, it's grassroots, it's raw, it's passionate, it's all done by for better or worse, it's all about the players, and it should always be about the players, and it should always be about the players' resilience, and the fact that we've whether we're on top and in the spotlight, or whether we're not at Evo, or even if another game has displaced us, like it did during the Brawl days for a little bit, that there's always going to be people playing Melee, and there's always going to be people that care. And I hope that everything I do, whether it's writing a weekly column or talking about Smash history, or whether it's writing this book, is that like the care that people collectively have for Melee and its community, and the empathy that we all have toward each other and toward the leaders and community figures of our scene who make this possible, ourselves included, that we all share that. And it's one really cool thing that we should all celebrate.
Wholesome, honorable, responsible, respectful. All the words I'm thinking of when it just came to that whole speech
Exactly.
there. That was
true.
amazing. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a fantastic ending for a fantastic person. Edwin, it has been nothing but an honor getting to finally sit down with you and talk to you. I know we ran it a little late. Do apologize. I do hope, you know.
It was fun, man. Thanks for having me on your show. And
of course.
I really hope when you finish, like when you're done with the book, that like you'll really feel like it was worth it. I
already know it was worth it. I already know it's worth it, and I intend to definitely finish up. I got a long ride ahead of me. I'm going to definitely be listening to it. I might record my voice on audiobook for you, send it your way. Who knows?
I was actually, I was considering doing an audiobook kind of thing.
Oh, fuck yeah.
If I ever got time for it.
Definitely. But man, right now, this next minute here, all for you. You know, if you want to plug whatever you got going on, let the people know where they can find anything related to you, follow you, all your time right here.
So, all right. So first off, thank you so much for letting me on the show officially. It's really a pleasure to hear your feedback about the book. You guys can follow me at Edwin_budding on Twitter. I write my weekly columns over at meleestats.co. I write about Melee history and more personal stuff on my personal blog, bignoke.com, which is bignokh.com. My actual name is Anoke, but you can follow me there. Unfortunately, I do not have a place that you can purchase or download the electronic copy of the Book of Melee yet, just because the distributor I'm using to give away electronic copies publicly it doesn't let you pre-order books in a pay what you want model, but it will be available on May 8th, which is a week from now. I'm really excited for it to come out. I think the book is really good, and I'm not just saying it because I wrote it. I put a lot of time into it. I really think you guys will celebrate the cool things that our scene accomplished, or the Melee scene accomplished. So expect it around May 8th. I'll post about it on my Twitter. Also, like, based on the Melee Stats website, we have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/MeleeStats if you want to support good Melee content, whether it's podcasts, weekly articles, research, seeding, or anything else. Thanks a lot, you guys. Keep listening to the Bakery with YungD0nut. Keep following Melee, consuming Melee content, watching Melee events, and keep playing Melee. Thanks, guys. Mega appreciate it.
Hell yeah. And once again, everything we talked about today will be in the description of the video when it is uploaded. Anything that you guys might have missed or wanted to look back on will be there for you. Again, this has been a super fun time. I'm going to wrap this up so everyone can get going. Again, Edwin, appreciate it big time. You have yourself a fantastic night. This has been The Bakery with YungD0nut, and we will see you for the season finale next week. Take care, guys.
Peace, guys.